Another big story we're following for you. A judge has ruled Sean Diddy Combs will remain in jail after a jury found him guilty on 2 counts of prostitution. The music mogul was acquitted, though, on the most serious charges, that's sex trafficking and racketeering. Attorneys for Combs declined to comment on the bail being denied, saying that those things are still in process. Listen.
We are not nearly done fighting. Today was a major step in the right direction, but we fight on, and we're going to win, and we're not going to stop until he walks out of prison a free man to his family.
CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman was inside the courtroom yesterday at the end of this epic 7-week trial. She's here with us now to share some of the latest. Katrina, good morning to you. Take us inside the room. What was it like when the verdict was read, and specifically the reaction from Sean Combs' team that he was cleared of the most serious charges here?
I mean, Sean Combs was absolutely elated in that courtroom as the not guilties began coming in. When he heard that he was guilty on that first transportation for a prostitution charge, I did see him get suddenly startled. But then there was another not guilty on sex trafficking of Jane, and he just looked so relieved. He was putting his face in his hands. He was making prayer hands and mouthing thank you to the jury. And his team as well. I walked out next to his lead attorney, Mark Agnifilo, and he yelled, "Holy," an expletive on the way out. But there was a very different tenor later in the day, Errol. Sean Combs truly thought he was going home. In fact, after that verdict was read, I saw him turn around to his family and mouth to them, "I'm coming home." Wow. So I think he truly thought he was going to walk out of that courthouse last night. The judge decided otherwise. And at the end of that, I saw Mark Agnifilo, his attorney, again, go over to the family and try to give them a pep talk. He said that it was a great day, that this was a victory for them, that no one has beaten the Southern District of New York on a racketeering case, and that at the end of the day, Sean Combs is going to ultimately get his life back.
And there are now a lot of questions about what the prosecution got wrong in failing to bring the most serious charges and convincing that jury. But the jury and you and the rest of us, they saw and heard evidence of Combs' violence towards women. Did that factor into why the judge denied him bail?
Absolutely. That was crucial to that decision, because what the judge said is that he said, quote, "It is impossible for Sean Combs to show that he is not a danger to society," and that element of posing a danger is part of what is considered when he thinks about whether he's going to release Combs on bail. And what he did was he actually went through the transcript and read all of these times, even in closing arguments, where Mark Agnifilo had said that they concede the violence, that there was domestic violence here. A big part of their case, Errol, was always that this is domestic violence. Domestic violence is not the issue. Domestic violence is not the charges or are not the charges. But the judge said you just can't get around that. We've seen that Intercontinental Hotel video where Sean Combs is beating Cassie. It's also significant that Cassie Ventura and Deontay Nash, a stylist who was a friend of hers who witnessed and experienced some of Sean Combs' violence to both witnesses in the case, submitted letters. They said that they feared for Sean Combs to be released. They felt that he posed a danger to the victims, to the witnesses, to society. Deontay Nash expressed fear of retaliation for getting up there on the stand, because regardless of this verdict, we have to remember so many people came forward in this case and really shared these violent, scary stories about Sean Combs, and the defense did not deny that violence.
Just a remarkable case to watch. We are out of time, but he's detained now until when? What's the next step?
So they technically set the sentencing for October, but his attorneys say they want it as soon as possible. We have a hearing on Tuesday, so they're going to talk about an expedited schedule.
Remarkable. Katrina Kaufman, thank you so much for your reporting.